Okay, okay. Hunter, let us get started now.
Okay.
We we
Uh,
have uh, we have engineers, Tina, Poplar, and also
yep.
some other people, Emily and Angel, Gia, in the meeting room now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this user guide is the most recent one that I finished doing some updates to today. I added the LTSSM and a few other things to it. The software, as far as the analyzer GUI and analyzer use, isn't going to change. Um, we've added a few extra widgets that we're also incorporating into most of our Gen 5. But as
Okay.
far as the actual analyzer features and software, it's not changing from Gen 5 to Gen 6.
Okay, okay.
However, for Gen 6, we are adding the tester. So I'll go over that in a minute. Here's kind of some of the short of the tester and the main features of it. Right now, manual mode is kind of the main thing that has a lot of features. There are a lot of tests that are included. I didn't include obviously all of those. Most of those are included in the specifications. Um,
Okay.
So that's at least where the guide is currently. It's under review by a few different people in the engineering team. So as soon as I get some feedback on that, and also get essentially once this is done getting feedback, the code is also ready to be submitted as well. So as soon as I get feedback on that, everything will be essentially updated and ready to post to the website.
Yeah, okay, okay.
As far as our Gen 6 information goes, um, our traces, so you'll be able to see the TS zeros, EIOS. You'll know whenever you're in 64 gigatransfer speed, so you'll be able to see that both in the speed column there, and if you have the link status events included in the timeline, that'll show that here, and it'll be purple. Um, so yeah, the TS ones, you do get similar breakdown as what we had shown previous, but they've also added these where these are tabs now that can be minimized if you're more interested in some information than others and you don't want to see certain symbols or information in the details as well as config space. And then later on over here, let me get to this. So after the training, so we do show you the idle flips and the no-op flips as far as the type, and we tell you whenever you're actually transmitting in the actual 256 flick mode. So 256 byte flip mode, sorry. Let's see if I can get a better. There's a no flip, the explicit sequence number, etc. after all the training. So that is at least a quick overview of some of the stuff that they've added to the trace and how that's changing to support the flip mode and show you the different information. This will be updated obviously based on feedback that we get from customers and whenever we're at the workshops, what they see, what they don't like, and different information that they're more interested in seeing. We still have the same features of dragging and dropping and adding columns from the details widget. So that is still available if they have something that is more imperative for them that they want to see that we're not necessarily showing right off the bat, so they can always create their own column with the information within the widget here. Okay, so the main new feature here obviously is the tester. So whenever you log in to an analyzer normal, you'll see essentially the type of interposer that is connected to it. If you see that it's a HSF, more than likely you're strictly using this as a tester. Even though there are times on the analyzer, I think there's this one's connected to a 142. So 142 will still show that it's connected to an HSF, but that's connected to the analyzer connections on this. Sorry, let me bring up the picture 1 second. So on the HSF here, you'll see that you have both tester for the downstream side, since the tester is acting strictly as a root complex, but then you have upstream and downstream side for the analyzer to connect so that you can see both sides of connection whenever we're acting as a root complex on a DUT. So back to the tester, the manual mode here. So we allow you to manually select the initial link speed and width that you want the DUT to act as, or to the DUT to train to. And then if we're acting as a root complex or endpoint, we have a drop down right here to select that. Sorry, one moment, I forgot to mention this. For the Gen 6 systems, after you've logged in, you can check your operation mode here, whether you're acting as a tester or an analyzer. You'll be able to see that right there, whether you're doing 16-lane capture analyzer or tester. And then if you're acting as a tester and you go to the normal capture dashboard, if you're wanting to switch and actually use it as an analyzer, you'll be able to change the mode here in the settings. But if you're actually wanting to use the tester, we give you a shortcut here to jump to the tester dashboard, which we've added just to the end of the list here under IDE keys. So sorry, back to what I was saying. You can even initially enable or disable flip mode. I think you have to go through Gen 3 retraining with flip mode, if you have it initially disabled. But that just might be from Gen 5 to Gen 6. I'll have to double check the spec. And then pre-coding, we can force it on or off for both the transmit and receive side, and then we can enable whether or not the request is enabled whenever we're acting as a root complex. We also have drop downs for all the equalization presets for all the speed changes. So if there is a specific equalization that the DUT requires for the different speeds, we can program those or hard program those here.
Hey, Hunter, I have some question for this menu mode.
Yep, go
So
ahead.
the first thing for the link width, you selected by one, right? So can we do it by 16 now?
Currently, no, it only supports by one. They are working on getting that wider width going currently, so that is what their main target is this month. And since I think the last work pre and the last workshop were just working on wider widths. They think they have it solved, so they're just working through that now. I believe we will have that resolved before the next workshop that we go to in Taipei, and hopefully by the time that you receive your analyzers, we have a build that's updated and we're actually testing that in-house. I know that we're going to a few different vendors and customers in the next few weeks to do some testing and verification on those builds at wider widths. One of those being Broadcom. So, and I think we have Synopsys and NVIDIA as well. So we have those three. I know Synopsys is at least by 8. We currently have a Cadence board that we can test up to by 8, and then the NVIDIA and the Broadcom are up to by 16. So the NVIDIA and the Broadcom are more of our interest because they do full by 16. Um, so that's kind of where we're trying to get in and do some testing for our tester. For the analyzer side, we're up to by 16 support. We're more interested now in getting in front of devices and hosts that can fully support by 16 and test our analyzer out. So our analyzer, we're kind of just essentially we're waiting on hardware to be finished and built, and that way we can send out demo units and get those in front of customers as soon as they're ready. But a lot of people are needing a root complex with that as well. So,
Okay. What about the mode, the RC emulation, and also the endpoint?
yep.
Yeah, but
Um,
did you try the endpoint emulation now?
I have not yet this week. I'll be back in the office tomorrow. I'm doing videos and testing with more of the Gen 6 tomorrow now that I'm kind of wrapped up with the documentation and other bug issues that I was kind of working on for CXL stuff that we had in the backlog. So, yeah, tomorrow is me working on more Gen 6 stuff. So I'll see if we have a DSF available. If we don't have, so the DSF, let me bring that up. So you can see
So
the DSF here.
yes,
And yeah, that one is more passive or acting as the endpoint.
yes.
I'll just have to see if we have one of these cards available. I'm not sure if we do with the actual power supply. So
Oh, okay, you mean that they do not have this device, smart fixtures in the lab?
yeah, I don't know if I have it in the Longmont office yet. I'll have to because a lot of this stuff has been once it's being built, in order to test it, we're shipping it out to Arizona and the UK, or a lot of it is being built in the UK. So some of it I just don't have hands on in the Longmont office yet.
Oh, okay, okay. You know, as I mentioned in the email, because most of early customers, they mainly focus on the endpoint emulation because they focus on the CPU processors, ARM-based server processors design verification, right? So
Yep,
they need emulated endpoint. And
yep,
also some customers like the Montage in Shanghai because they design the PCI Gen 6 by 16 retimer. So I discussed with them in the headquarters in Shanghai about half a year ago. So I chased them. They still did not make the final mind to buy LaCroix or Viavi something. Because for the past generations like Gen 3, Gen 4, Gen 5, they all use LaCroix analyze exercises by 16.
yep.
So but now still waiting. They wanted to try more. So I promised to them that we will get them a demo unit, after Chinese New Year. So we will be back to work on February the 5th.
Okay.
So yeah, but they need it by 16,
Yep.
because for retimer, I think probably they need both functions, the root complex emulation and also the endpoint emulations.
Okay. And you said you'll be back on the 10th or the 13th for February.
Sorry?
You said you'll be back at the 10th or the 13th in February after the new year?
February the 5th,
The
5.
5th. Okay, 5. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll only have 1 week before I leave, so I'm going to be in Taipei at a PCI conference and workshop from the 16th to the 22nd. So,
Okay, but there are some time collisions because we have one customer in Shenzhen, so they told us very clearly that because they already invited LaCroix via the K site for their PCI Gen 6 analyze exercises evaluation, they told
yep.
us better in mid-January now, actually, So, but the other customer in Shanghai, so they have their design center in Hangzhou, but they have teams here in Shanghai. So they are also do CPU processors, server for server applications. So they wanted us to get them as soon as possible, the demo unit. They wanted only the by 16 Gen 6 by 16 uh, endpoint emulation. So the customer in Shanghai, because they wanted to buy, so probably in March, because they have to use it in May this year. So they wanted to try the analyze exercises before March.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Nope. So yeah, we're like I said, we're good on the analyzer, shipping those as soon as possible. It's a tester that we're really kind of holding off on shipping to some people. So for demos, so as soon as that is feeling better on engineering units, I'll make sure those are shipped out as soon as possible, especially whenever we have stock ready. So
Okay. You just mentioned that the smart, host smart fixtures and also the device smart fixtures, both were built in UK, London.
I'm not sure what part of UK exactly, but yeah, between I think California and UK is where they were designed, is where most of our hardware engineers are out of.
Okay. But without one uh, device smart fixture, how do you test the endpoint emulation?
That's what I was saying. I haven't yet, so I don't know. I think a couple of the software engineers have one in the UK and have been testing it some, but they've mainly been focused around the root complex because that's what most of the customers and end users have been using at the workshops that we go into and the pre-FYIs for Gen 6.
Yeah.
So, um, I think we've shipped a couple of DSFs. I'm not sure how often it's actually been used. So from what
Okay.
I've seen, it's mainly been the HSF.
Okay. For that the device smart fixtures, so shipped. So that has the interposer embedded or not? Because there are two models, right? One cheap
No, no,
one.
no. So the DSF is strictly a passive. by 16 card that is just
Yes,
passing the signals from the tester to whatever
yes,
host you're plugged in. It doesn't
yes.
actually have any interposer or anything like that. It's just going to send traffic.
Yeah, okay, okay. But I mean, on the price book, there are two models for the device smart fixtures, right? One without interposers, right? One with interposers, right? More expensive.
Mm. That one looks like it's still to be determined. I haven't heard that one yet or seen any layouts for it. So that's a to be determined one.
Okay. Let's get back a little bit on the web GUI, the dashed mode.
Yep. So, like I was saying, you have the equalization presets here, and then you have the apply.
Yes,
Um, and then after that, you have the sideband control. The basic actions are the power and then reset the link with Pursed. And then in the advanced tab, we essentially have full sideband control where you can assert and deassert different sideband signals. And with the sideband monitoring on the analyzer, here you can actually see those changes in real time as well.
okay, okay. For that analyzer link, so it allows the engineer to capture and decode.
So this
What?
is a separate box that is set up.
Yes,
Essentially, this is, yeah. So we're just able to link two separate systems that are on the same network and capture a normal trace. The tracer I was mentioning here
yes,
is actually embedded on the tester. This has about 64 gigabytes
yes.
that it can record, but it's not going to be a full decode like you would get with the analyzer. It's not the same.
Okay, what do you mean not fully, decode? What do you mean? It decode only some very basic information, right?
No, it simply gives enough information for us to know if we pass or fail the test, or
Oh,
if the
okay.
DUT passed or failed the test. That's all that it has. It doesn't have the deep information and the config space and everything else, the actual full packet data that the analyzer would have.
Okay, okay.
So yeah, you get all of your sideband signals here. We're planning on adding an ATX power um, connection onto the HSF, I believe. So anytime you need like a GPU power supply or anything like that, we're planning on adding not really a GPU, but some of the smaller cards, maybe like a Broadcom card or something like that. We're planning on adding an attachment for that so that you can power that directly off of the HSF. However, I know a lot of vendors are still just bringing their own power supply, and that's absolutely recommended just to make sure that you're compliant with that specification.
Okay.
Um, you do get a quick snapshot. You can see here, we just read the config space live. So that is live every time that you come here. You can also refresh it. You can download the fields or download the binary data from this information that we found here. I'm not sure what those look like exactly. Those are bin files. So those come down as bin files. But any field in the config space that is editable, that are defined as editable in the specifications, you can come in and edit that. So if you want to change the supported link speed or anything like that, I don't know if those are editable, but essentially any of those you can. With the DUT information, same, you can see that red. This takes a quick snapshot of the capabilities that the device has and gives you all the information, what vendor, the switch, etc. So this one's actually a Broadcom switch that we're testing with, or HIB, I guess those were. Any of the DUT memory, you can read and write from the addresses and how many words that you wanted to read or D words you wanted to read from it. And then same with the right here, and you can add and remove D words as needed from whatever address you're trying to write to. Similar with the DUT config space, we have the tester config space. So this shows on the information, it's essentially replicated over, and same thing, any of the fields that are editable, you can edit them here. That way you can match or push changes from here to the DUT.
How do you edit it? Just click
There's
and
a
okay.
there's a pencil button right here. So whenever you click the pencil button, you'll see that a lot of
Okay.
the fields either get drop downs
Okay.
or information like that, so that you can actually change what class codes, or not the class code, but any of the fields in here essentially that are like I think your power and all that. If you want to set different power modes manually from the config space, I believe you can do that. So
Okay. Mm.
this screen will be changing so that we can do multiple TLPs. And I think we're even adding in a couple of different other drop downs for pre filling some of these fields. Um, but essentially, this sort of allows the user to manually generate a TLP. If they want to time out with it, they can do that, and they can update the tag, etc. And then if they wanted to change this to the list view instead, they get the same kind of
Okay.
layout options.
Can customer, generate one TLP packet with wrong CRC errors, CRC.
Yes. So they can do that, and I believe there is even a test with the with some of this, yeah, like bad CRC or bad CRCL test cases. So there's a couple of test cases that do that. So yeah, I'm not familiar with how they would do that, but yes, you're able to do that here.
Uh, what the last one, tracer function.
That's the one that I was just talking about. So this one, if I log out and oh, that is available right now. So this one is the one that we'll probably be removing, but this is just the small tracer that gives us information whenever we're running tests. And they can essentially, right now we've got it available, but they can use that to capture some small information on what's going across the bus that we see from the tester and then receive back. Uh, but it's not going to be, it's essentially similar to what we see. Let me grab this test here. So essentially what we see here in like one of these debugs, these tracer events. So if I go to the details, it's not showing them a lot. It's just kind of like almost header information essentially.
Okay, very basic, information's there.
Essentially, yeah, it's not nothing detailed. If they want an actual detailed information on what this packet contained, they would need actual, analyzer trace.
Okay.
But that's just the trace history, and we do store those. Essentially, the test, the plans here. Any of the tests that are ran are stored there, and we have a history here of all of them. And obviously, the more you have, we'll have them stacked up, and we give you essentially what run number it was. So starting from 0 to X, what speed, if it actually linked up well, we'll give you an X or a check mark there. If it was using flip mode or non-flip mode, the max width that we were able to link at, some quick done information on what it was. If you wanted to edit or add a description, you can. And then the statistics on how many tests were ran, how many failed, how many passed, any warnings, or any that were skipped. And then this gives you also just a quick overview of all of the
So,
tests that are
Hunter,
running on the
Hunter,
DUT. Yep.
about the statistics, there, right? So like the first one, number three, right? So the 126, so completed. So 45 passed, 69,
We're
what the,
skipped.
huh?
We're
Skipped. Oh,
skipped because it's not
well,
it's
but
not applicable to the
failed.
DUT.
Okay. But where where are those 126 test cases?
So I was getting to that. So we have these tests here.
Okay.
So all of these tests are test cases as defined by the PCI specifications. And we
This is by the PCI SIG CTS, or the
yes.
engine team uh, uh, you know uh, checked the PCI spec and do find some features they wanted to test and write some script there here.
So these are all defined by the uh test layer test specification. So this is the link layer test specification. And I think it's Rev 6 is where they pulled all these tests from. So, they have like poison TLPs, all test cases, um, bad E, CRC, all test cases, etc. So,
But, okay, I mean, these test cases follow that the PCI SIG, protocol
yes.
layer CTS, right?
Yeah,
Like
so
Gen
this
5.
tells, yep. Well, these are from the Gen 6, but a lot of these have, this was essentially, I think, added on from Gen 5, but yeah, I don't know if these have any of the split mode test in yet. These are essentially all the link layer tests, though.
Okay, but PCI
But this,
SIG, they already finalized the PCI Gen 6 compliance test spec or not?
no, they have not. It's still in pre-FYI.
Pre-FI. Well,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so no, they've not. They're working on it. We have one or two people that are directly in contact with the people that are writing the test specification and edits that we're making to it and different things on how to write the flip mode test and verify that they're actually working correctly. So it's still in discussion. I know that a lot of the tests are getting finalized, but this is essentially what they have finalized so far, and everyone's kind of agreed to on is at least the link layer stuff.
Okay, all these test cases are for the non-fleet mode or fleet mode.
Um, I would have to double check, but looks like a lot of these are non-flip mode and you can test some of them.
Okay,
It looks
okay.
like 1.0 or later, and then others are probably going to be,
Okay.
yeah.
Scrub. So for that, protocol PCIe mode endpoint. So you mean that the tester act as a RC, right?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Okay, it is testing the
There's
endpoint.
yeah, because I haven't seen, because I can go grab, like, for instance, yeah. So they're testing endpoints, yes.
Okay, okay. Uh, Hey, by the way, so did you go to the last time, mid-October, that 1 week preliminary for information Gen 6 Plague Fest? Were you there or not?
No, I was not. That was an engineering team.
Okay, I heard David was there, right?
Yeah, I believe it was David and a few of the people from the software team. So,
So software team from the UK, traveling from UK.
one of the guys from the UK, yes.
Oh, okay, okay. So, mm, uh, so for the next time in Taipei, that one, so that Plague Fest. So what is the date? In February or in the January this month?
I think it's the 19th through the 21st, if I remember correctly.
Oh, 19 this month?
No, in
Next month.
February.
February, okay, next month, okay. 19, okay. Hmm.
So the plans are essentially what we were using earlier to kind of show we've got a couple of different ones. Some, if we go to the suites, so it'll be like the Gen 6 pre-FYI. If you're testing a Gen 4 or Gen 5 endpoint, we've got different suites that we created for that that you can then turn into test plans. Um, and the plans are how we essentially save all of our runs so that you can go back and get a history of what you've done on your DUT. So you can add different suites to the test plan, or you can add directly different tests if you want to run
Okay.
like the same test multiple times or run just a specific section of the test. You can do that whether you're clicking, dragging over, or you have the plus button here, and then you just give it a name. If you want to give it a description, you can. And then if there is a specific DUT that you have configured and you know is going to be used, you can add that. And if there's an analyzer that is connected to the system, you can enable captures on the analyzer as well.
Okay. So after you create a plan, so how do you start the test?
So after you've created the plan here, you've got a
Start.
play button right here that'll essentially start it, and then you'll get a run queue down here that'll show you how many tests it's running through. And then
Okay.
once it's completed, you'll see that test in the test history, and anything that is blue is essentially kind of a hyperlink right there. So you see how the numbers are kind of a light blue, and then that gives you a summary of all the tests that were ran, the different functions that it tested, and then the debug stuff is the one that'll have information on the different packets. So if you want to see something like a poison TLP, you can see that. I'm not sure yet. I'll have a couple debugs here. And then it's got 4 tracer entries here, and you can see the different just kind of headers on those tracer entries. So, like I said, it's really, really light information, but there is some at least debug information that it'll show you, and you can filter and add and show those. So, and you can also see, let me minimize this. So all the successful tests and the errors you'll see here. So if the test errored, it's that. So I can see this test right here, adjust the initial preset. So that test failed. That did not advertise correct equalization preset in phase one. So yeah, we can see that we weren't able to actually change the initial preset. So just different stuff like that just gives you a quick. I will see if we can add in some filtering so that I can just click on the column if I want to see all the errors. It shows me all the errors and it just sorts them to the top, stuff like that. But the main thing is it's we do show those and we are working on a report format. Um, they've actually added in a couple now. So we have HTML, CSV, JSON, um, and then our seiraltek report. That way you'll be able to download that and take that to an analyzer, upload it to the analyzer, and review that on the. You don't have to review it on the analyzer. I think you'll be able to even open on the Bus Expert app is what they're adding to it. So.
Okay.
This menu is getting reworked. The DUTs, what their plan is, from what I've understood, and I like the way that they're going with it, is any DUT that we test that we get permission, we are allowed to, or any DUTs that we purchase off the shelf, we can take a snapshot of those in manual mode or through our plans with the config space and DUT information and add that to the DUTs here to be used later on when we're using our DSF. That way we can test like if their DUT is having some weird electrical issues or connection issues, we can at least plug in and get a comparison on what's going on with their signal versus our signal internally. And even on, like the analyzer and the tester versus each other. So just a good check for us internally and just customers to see how their SI is versus a system that we built and tested, either with different host systems and internally. So,
Okay. Did you test any PCI Gen 6 device in the lab?
so yes, we have the cadence board. Um, that is one that we do have. However, as far as in the lab right now, that's the only Gen 6 that we have that I know of. We are getting some others, but I can't speak on those right now.
Okay, but that cadence board, it is a endpoint or it is RC
It's an endpoint
endpoint by 16 or by 1?
by 8.
By 8. So the analyzer can capture by 16 by 8, no any problem, right?
From what we've tested so far and seen, yes, the analyzer and the interposer should be able to capture by 16 Gen 6. We're waiting to get in front of more hosts and endpoints with that.
Okay, so I read a summary uh, by David, after that mid-October for information test. So he mentioned that for some that so if there is configurations for the let me see for the pre-coding settings something, right? So analyzer cannot capture the traffic correctly. So that bug was fixed or not?
Yeah, so that's what we've done here with the
Yeah.
pre-coding right here.
Yes.
So we've added that even in on our analyzer side, I believe, to where we can force pre-coding on and off. We can set it to auto, and then we can change whether or not the request is enabled or disabled for either side. And at the specific, 32 or 64 on the tester. And like I said, I think we've even done that on the analyzer side. So yeah, we should be fine on the pre-coding.
Yeah, okay, because this is under the DUT dot tab, right? What does this mean? If I change the pre-coding like 64 gig, 64 gig, yeah, like
This is just changing whether or not the
100.
transmit and receive side either are going to auto detect it or going to force it on and or off. So essentially, are we going to force it on the host side here, so the transmit side going out to the DUT, or are we going to force it on from the receive side? So essentially, the DUT is going to tell us that hey, it's going to have it on. So
Okay, I mean, even that, if we select on the transmit side false on, so we just configure the tester to be pre-coding on, right?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
Um, so I'm going to do this a bit backwards, but essentially similar what you can do in the plans. If you just want it to run individual tests or individual suites that have been created, you can choose test to add to the entries here. So add, and then whenever you select the test, you'll get some details on what that test is running, the current release of that test. So,
Hunter, so
yep.
where can I, see those, code? Because this is only a very, very brief description, right? So where is
Y-
that code?
We don't give you the code, we write it.
Oh, no code.
Yeah, we write it. It's internal.
Internal, okay. So, but how can customer program their own test script by calling the RESTful APIs?
Yeah, so we'll have a Python library that they'll be able to essentially anything that we're able to do here in the test or here in manual mode, they'll be able to do within that API and form their own test. And we're talking with some other customers and working with how to essentially transfer some of those tests either internally into our test cases here that we can provide to them on a specific test stream or just internally with, like I said, the Python scripting or something like that. So that's still something that they're working out on how to do, and we're still waiting on a few customers to approach us on like essentially what do their test cases look like? How hard would it be for our guys internally to take those and actually write them since it doesn't take most of our software engineers too terribly long to write these test cases. So that's been our forward kind of foot right now is to offer to essentially rewrite them for the customers and hand them over to them to use. But that way we also get an idea of how are the customers using the unit. Um, so
Okay, so there is no way for customer to select one very specific test cases here and then change some parameters and then save to another test case. There's no way, right?
right now, no, there's no way to modify these test cases or add test cases to this.
It is all fixed and not
Yes.
non-changeable,
So
right? No
yes,
change.
but like I was saying through this hasn't been updated for Gen 6, but through the REST API, we'll have a tester config here. Or actually it is kind of right here. They're starting to add some of it for the analyzer and the other links. Um, but yeah, we'll be able to essentially, we can get and change the done information, link stuff. So they'll be adding to this in different test cases. So into test plans that we're able to run and execute and export. So with that, and then adding on to what we're able to expose or get the information from the customer and write the test for them to embed. So not sure how the customers will feel about that and how they'll approach it. Like I said, this is the first time we've built the tester exerciser, so we're still working out how we want to do that and make it easy for them to transition over to this.
Okay, so under the tab suites, there are three, right? PCI 6.
Yep, I'll
Uh,
get to that in just a
three for
second.
your, okay.
Yep. So that's what I was, I'm going to go backwards here. It'll be a bit confusing on the suites, but I'll get to that. So the test here, essentially the same that you see in the test, you're able to select any from the drop down, drag them over. The suites are a group of tests. Some of them we predefined and we will have predefined in the analyzer from what I understand. As far as what the PCIe defines as some of the tests, and you'll be able to drag those over and run those as well for whatever endpoint you have. And then you can run just the quick test runner from what you've selected here. I don't know what history this necessarily keeps as far as what it is compared to the plans. I know the plans have a better history and actually run history from what the test runner has.
Okay, go back a little bit to the testers. Yeah, test.
It's the same tab as these tests
Okay.
here. So all the tests that we have that are predefined by the SIG or that we have worked out with customers to include in their analyzer test stream, or tester test stream, we will have included in this list here that they're able to essentially create their different test cases or their scenarios that they want to test. And then from those tests, we're able to create suites is what we do initially. So you can grab different groups of tests, give the name to, and then a description. Um, Test group name, so you can actually have multiple test groups if you need that. And then you're able to drag over all the different tests. So if you wanted to have like test group, this one is like Gen 3, Gen 4 test, and then this group is Gen 5 non-flip mode. And then once it's there, if you want to do any Gen 5 flip mode, and then from there, you're able to drag your test over, scroll down just on that one, and add the test there to your different groups. And you can change the group ordering as well so that those different tests or those different groups are sequenced and do more things there. And then similar to what we were seeing earlier in the test runner, any of the tests you click on, you get a quick little details on that. Um, let's cancel this here. So any of the suites here, you can see they've gone in and they've added essentially from all of the different sections, all the data link rules for those groups and what sequence that test runs in. So if you have a DUT that fails a certain test because it runs this test before this one and it puts it into a bad state, you can either remove that specific test or that group or reorder it to where that test runs last, and maybe it just has to run that test last because it's failing the rest of them, etc. So you're able to resync, or not resync, but reorder your suites however you need it for your DUTs. And then from those, you can add in either individual test to create a test plan, or you can add in the suites itself. And whatever is included in that suite will run in that test plan and give you all of that history like we saw earlier. So yeah, it's a bit of a odd multi-layered thing that they've done to group these, but I kind of understand it because sometimes you just want to create a test plan for a specific DUT, run that DUT in that test plan to keep that history. And then there's other times where like this, for instance, we have the PCIe Gen 5, Gen 4, and I think we might even add one for Gen 3 endpoints that you can test, and then the test that we've ran at the pre-FYIs. So
Okay, all these three, Gen 4, Gen 5, Gen 6, for information, right? So all for endpoint test, right? There's no test cases for the RC test.
These are all us acting as a root complex, testing an endpoint.
Uh,
Yes, so these are all us testing an endpoint. We're not acting as the endpoint here. We're acting as a root complex.
okay，你没什么问题吗？所以睡着了，Yeah。
The other thing with manual mode, but it doesn't go away, you do have quick actions here. So if you want to reset the tester and the link, this essentially brings power down, power back up, and then goes back to this link control that you initially set. And then if you wanted to manually select different link speeds for the DUT, you can tell it to walk through the different link speeds like that as well.
So, uh, based on what that is there, right? PCI Gen 5 or Gen 6, you change manually the configurations here, right?
Yeah, based on what the DUT is that you're testing, you'll be able to see what it supports, and then if you want to initially try to send it to Gen 6 link speed, you can do that, change the link width, etc. And a lot of the times, users will know that information, so they'll set that before powering on the DUT, set all the information, and then power the DUT and do some test. So yes, that's why we just have quick drop-down menus for setting it up whenever they're initially plugging in the link before they run any test plans or anything like that.
So, after you change the link speed or weight, there's information here. So that will be applied right away, right?
You do have to do the
Not
apply, I think. Because I can test this real quick. Hang on. Power off.
like Gen 4, 16, for example, yeah.
No. Okay, so yeah, these you don't have to. You just have to down click it, reset tester and link, and it should, and it messed up at one of the, yeah. Not happy training straight to Gen 5 for some reason, but it will. Oh, probably because we have flip mode enabled. Maybe not.
So the dot here is Broadcom PCI Gen 5 by 16 switch card, serial cables, right?
I'm not sure if this is a serial cables card or a Broadcom HIB card.
Okay. But if you change the link width to by 16, does it work?
No, the image that we have in this only supports
Right.
by one.
Okay, but you just mentioned so when do you think that by 8 or by 16 will be supported in the next release, like in February or
Hopefully before February we'll have that. We should be testing with the customers and vendors I mentioned earlier this month. Um, the next week or so before I leave for DesignCon at the end of the month, we should be testing with them. So either later this week or next week is what we're planning, and hopefully we can verify that we can go to wider widths. So as far as the analyzer, though, that one's ready. That one's ready to be tested at by 16.
oh, okay, okay. So how many demo unit do you have now in the lab?
I'm not 100% sure. I know that the initial run was for 10,
10.
10 to 20, I believe. And out of that, I think we got 16 that were good, and we had a couple of boards that needed to be sent back for rework. So,
Oh, okay. But when do you think that you can ship me fully configured Gen 6 by 16 analyzer with card slot interposers and also the uh, smart host smart fixture device, smart fixtures.
So the analyzer with the by 16 interposers sooner than later, so I can hopefully ship that by the end of next week, if not by the end of the month. We'll hopefully be shipping those. The HSF, I engineering won't give me a date on when I can have one of those and give those out for demo yet without engineering support. So that one I still have not got an answer on. They have honestly, they've forked off a few things and have started rewriting some of the code in there because we had uh, some issues with some of the other code that were submitted by the people we were doing the partnership with for the tester. So that rewrite should be done tomorrow, from what he was saying. Um, and then after that, the wider width shouldn't be much of an issue, but that was essentially what was kind of holding them back is some of the code written by a sister company was kind of having some issues. So now we're just kind of rewriting it, and he should have that fix in soon. But that's yeah. Once we get it tested at Broadcom and the other customers, we'll be able to release the HSF. But that's essentially what we're waiting on because it's a buy one and they're not 100% confident with it up to Gen 6. We're not releasing the HSF quite yet. That's what's holding them back on it.
Okay, by the way, so did you go to Micron with Mike in like in the December 3rd, 4th, something?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, but okay, did the tester work with their E3.S Gen 6
We didn't test it.
for analyzer? Huh?
We didn't test it.
You didn't test.
No, we did not test with their DUT while we were there. It was more of a GUI overview and show meeting, and by the time that we kind of got done with going over the GUI and talking about some of the things that they had questions over,
Okay,
we ran out of time to really test their DUT and do anything. It was late and everybody was just kind of ready to go home. So
okay.
we have, after we go to Broadcom, I believe we have a meeting scheduled to test their DUT soon. So it wasn't we didn't want to test their DUT. It slipped our mind and all the other stuff that we were showing off and talking about and testing. We just didn't get time to test their DUT. So it is on our list to test though.
Okay, okay. Because we went to Micron Shanghai several times. They have a validation team here. So they have the PCI Gen 6 E1.S and E3.S. But they do not have a very good CPU processors or emulated RC. So they wanted to test. So at this moment, we ask them to wait for serial cables to release the the switch card based
Yep.
on PCIe Gen 6 by 16. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, but uh, but Paul told me that it will be released somewhere, I don't know, probably end of March something. It is too late. And because
The
this stuff,
Broadcom card?
yeah, Broadcom.
Well, they've got their first batch rolling out soon for customers that requested, but yeah, I'm not sure that that's all going to be internal for them. I'm not sure what all is going on, but I know Broadcom is trying to roll out those Gen 6 HIBs sooner than later. So,
Yeah, I heard some companies they have got the Gen 6 switch 144 lanes from Broadcom because Broadcom they have something like the early access program. So customer, if they pay something like the 200, 300,000 US dollars, right? They can get like 100, 200, Gen 6 A0 switch from Broadcom. So that is why I heard some companies they've got the switch. But when I checked with Thumblaze Rick, and also Paul. So they told me that there's no such kind of things. So you just mentioned that you will test the Broadcom Gen 6 switch very soon, right?
Yeah, we should be testing that in the next like week
Next
or two.
week?
Yeah.
Next 1 week. Okay. So,
Yeah,
but
so
the,
it's not commercially available right now. They're not releasing any. These are all we're going to Broadcom and testing them internally with them at their office. They're
oh,
giving us that
okay.
opportunity to do that since we are developing a tester and analyzer. So that's
Okay.
the only reason we're able to get in there and do that with Broadcom. It's not a we are a customer and they're giving us a unit
Oh,
or a card or anything like that. We're going to their office and testing it with them.
okay. If not, you have to drive to Broadcom office with
Yeah, uh,
analyze exercise testers, right? To test
yeah,
in their lab.
yes.
Okay. Probably they build some prototype Gen 6 switch card, right?
Yeah, the day that we were there t last time, he only had his A card and his B card had just arrived, and he needed to work out some of the kinks with it because some of the SI and other different settings were a little bit different than his A card. So yeah, he had got like one of the first allocations of B silicon that they had actually built. So.
Okay, but I remember that I heard Broadcom Gen 6 switch still has that packet capturing features inside. Uh, so you heard about that?
No, I've not heard anything about the PEA.
The
And
PA, the Gen 5 switch.
yeah, and anything with that would probably like we've had one or two people kind of talk about that, but Paul, from what I've seen, hasn't been too interested. But again, that could change depending on different factors that they see. So that's something that's going to have to be discussed with Paul and then him with the engineering team, depending on how much bandwidth we have. So.
Yes, yes. But when I discussed with Paul about a requirement here, uh, we have one customer which will design PCI Gen 6 switch. So they wanted to add because we demoed the PCI Gen 5, serial cables switch card to them. It has embedded B0. It has embedded, packet capturing, features
Mhm.
there. So they wanted to add this kind of features into their PCI Gen 6 switch design. But the problem is they are now trying to finalize their uh, you know, architect design. So they wanted to know what is the prerequisite for them because if they wanted to add this feature, right? So they need to leave some room or resources uh, on that switch, right?
Yeah,
So
so I mean, for instance, I think Broadcom had like 256 or something like that. They had, a very, very small memory buffer that was dedicated to that. And then they also had, I'm not sure how much space it took up, but there's obviously library space that they have to add into the card's actual operating system that can detect and output essentially all of those settings or all of those packets that it detected. So if they have a switch card, they should be able to see what the link speed is, what it's transmitting as far as width, and I think even some device type stuff similar to what we see on like the Panda.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and then from there, they essentially have to create filters and all that based on the traffic that they're
yeah,
seeing going across their buses. So that would be,
yes.
I mean, I'm not sure what the legal ramifications would be, but that would be at least my essential start from what I've seen on the Panda. So,
Yeah, but did you demo the Panda together with Broadcom switch card to customers there in the US? Because I did some demos and also gave some customers evaluation unit Panda for evaluations, right? Several times. But uh, the it is a problematic, especially on the Panda, the web GUI, right? So they cannot detect all of the stations there. Like if there
yeah.
was 9 stations, right? Only 5 stations showed up. So the customer said it is not usable at all. The problem that they feel this feature is very good, especially, for some, the PCI switch sits between the CPU processors and the DPU or GPU card, right? So it can connect one link by 16 to the CPU processors, another 8 by 16 to the GPU card, DPU card, right? So sometimes they still wanted this kind of, visibility, even there's very less buffers allocated for each station to do packet capturing, right? It still feel good, but the demo evaluation didn't work well here. So,
Yeah, and I understand that there hasn't been enough attention around or towards Panda for it to really have been developed further. So
yeah,
that was the issue with Panda is there wasn't really enough interest to drive any development around it. So
yeah. Paul told me that it is Broadcom issues. We can do nothing about it. So the problem is, for PCI Gen 6 switch.
yeah, that
Uh,
was the other thing too is Broadcom did a update where they locked the cards. So that also created an issue with the Panda where they essentially
okay,
you had to go to Broadcom to get those debugs because
yeah.
Broadcom essentially locked us out of that after they got their development done. So
Yeah, understood. If Broadcom doesn't support you, there's no way to fix those issues. So I sent emails to Paul, but he is now traveling. I don't know why. Where? Probably
I
Taiwan?
think he's in the UK or something like that.
Are
So
you okay?
he's probably busy. I know he's doing serial cable stuff this week. So that was that was kind
Yeah,
of his thing that he was telling us he's doing stuff with serial cables and quartz. So
yeah. But he didn't respond to me. I mean, my question is, my customer pushed me a lot because I said they are trying to finalize their, PCI Gen 6, ASIC, the architecture design. They will finalize. So they wanted to learn, you know, if there is a possibility to integrate this, um, ITAP, PEA kind of features in their chip design in the future. So they do not need very detailed information, right? At this moment, they just wanted to learn. So what, prerequisite, like I mean, the resources, for example, they need for this packet capturing, right? So do you think, beside Paul, some other people can help me on this issue very quick? Like some people in the UK or some people in the US, like David or some other people, I don't know.
not anyone that has any time that would have any authority to
Oh,
do
okay.
that now. So that's going to be the main issue there. So, I'll ping Paul and see if he's got time to respond, but I think he was flying
Yeah.
today or not today, but yesterday, and essentially doing some recovery and other stuff today or yesterday. So I'm not sure. I haven't heard back from him on any of my emails either yet. This was information that I had from him from last week before he was traveling. So,
Yeah. When I discussed with Paul over the phone, he said, okay, he's very interested to learn more, right? But as you said, the resources there, so he will try to see if there's bandwidth resources to do that, to cooperate with customer to get them this embedded packet capturing features in their switch design, right? But now I think probably because of the Christmas holidays, New Year's holidays kind of things, right? So, but anyways, the customer told me that they waited for over 1 month, almost 2 months. They still cannot get back from us. So they're a little, uh,
yeah, with the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas holiday, there was a lot of PTO. So
yeah,
I understand their frustration. We
yeah.
usually have, yeah, that's usually whenever everyone takes their time off or goes spends time with grandkids. So,
Okay. So you will travel next week, right?
no, not next week, week after. Week after, I'll be in California for Design Con and some
Then
customer
come. Okay.
meetings, and
Okay.
then 2 weeks after that, I'll be in Taipei. So,
Oh, okay. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Mm.
as soon as I get these user guides and updates out, I'll send you that, and then I'll also have a couple YouTube videos with unboxing and the setup
Okay.
for the HSF and the analyzer. So I'll make sure to. Do you mean to include links for that, or do you just want to look at those whenever they're up and me send you an email?
Okay, okay. So also please get me that the user manual. That user manual Gen 6 will be on the seiraltek website
Yes, I will send you a
after
copy of it if
reviewing.
it's small enough. And then yeah, as soon as they're done reviewing it, it'll be on the website. So.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, by the way, for that, a traditional LTSS SSM, display that several bubbles there that can display, right? Like the
Yep.
PCI Gen 4 analyzer does. So here also many customers also wanted that feature to be back.
Yeah, no, it'll be on Gen 5 and Gen 6.
Yes. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, so
So
that is also included in Gen 5. I have it on both. And that is retroactive. So essentially any traces that customers have that include LTSM information, they're able to reprocess that and get that
okay,
information.
okay. But that is the what is the version do we have to use? That the 3.0 something, right?
It's whatever version the current version is on the beta stream.
Oh, better stream. Okay.
Yeah. So they haven't, because of the updates that they made to Gen 6 software, we're using essentially the same or similar software that we had at Gen 5. So there was a lot of stuff that they've added that they're trying to figure out how do we get this to where we're essentially on two different versions, but Gen 5 is still pulling some of the necessary updates from Gen 6, but not getting like the Gen 6 tester and the 64 gig transfer um, files and all that for the FPGAs. So once they get everything finalized, we'll have a mainstream, hopefully in the next few weeks, that actually gets pushed out and has all these updates and tests that are done in the QA department. So
Okay, so in the future for PCI Gen 5 analyzer and also the PCI Gen 6 analyzer, still Seiraltek will maintain two separate firmware and bus expert software release, right?
no, they, from what I understand, will be having a single stream.
Oh, single
That
one.
is, yeah, just it'll just be main, and the bus expert software will just continue to be updated for both, and any of the Gen 6 features. Um, would essentially just be available based on what was seen in the trace license. So whatever your analyzer was able to capture and see in the trace, you'll be able to see on the Bus Expert app. So it's not going to be based on any of that. It's essentially whatever the analyzer is able to see is what's captured in the trace. So
Okay, so for the firmware, so uh, it will still be two separate firmware, right? One for PCI Gen 5, one for Gen 6.
from what I am seeing on this, no.
Still
But
one firmware for both.
yeah, it'll just be one firmware. But
One
I'll have
firmware
to
and one bus expert software, right? For
yes,
both Gen 5, Gen 6.
yes.
Yeah, okay. Because for the new firmware 3.0 something, right? We upgraded the analyzers at some customers like Solidigm because we found that there's some other issues. I think probably some bugs were fixed with new software release, but it also introduced new issues. But now most of the time we still use the 2.662 something or 2.8 something, I think.
Okay, and that's fine. The main thing with the beta stream was just kind of introduce them and show them we do have the LTSM stuff coming out. There are a few things that we have currently in the works now, specifically for Solidigm that I know of, that came from the US office. So I know that we have at least one or two programmers working on that.
Okay, okay. Oh, by the way, for because we already have three IMAs, so uh three
Yes.
by 16 analyzer unit. So
Yep.
we will get the third. You just created the one IMA case number for that
Yep.
customer in Chengdu, right? Because I fly there January the 1st. Uh, so it seemed to me, but did you run into similar issues before, during the transportations that, the 10 gig, transceiver or the uh, sideband connector, that occlusive connectors? get damaged.
So the Oculink one, almost never. That one takes someone pulling it down or up essentially while it's connected in the housing. I've never seen that damaged in transportation.
Yeah,
The QSFP, not QSFP, but the SFP connector,
yeah,
I've not
indeed.
seen those get damaged very often, but I have seen it a couple of times. The main issue I will see a lot of the times is just the SFP adapter will get stuck, and
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
have to
yeah.
take like a pair of needle nose or something and pull it out. But usually the slot is fine, or sometimes just the locking mechanism just didn't release on the SFP for some reason.
So
So.
you don't think that is, the stuck was not caused by, transportations, right?
The SFP port maybe, but the sideband that's no, I don't think that one was caused by transportation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it is very, very, very strange, So because at first we think that their engineer is not familiar, right? But they told me that they watched the video because I made that video 2 hours product trainings,
yep,
Um, so they watched it several times. So they dealt with it very carefully because I emphasized in the video that they have to be very carefully when they plug and unplug that sideband signals. So, but the problem is when I was there on site, because they also pointed out to me that okay, that the first SFP0, that transceiver was stuck there, cannot be unplugged. So that made me think probably the bad transportations caused those issues. They found these sideband connect issues. They told me that when they plug a cable, right, because there is some kind of locking mechanism, right? There's some sound, right, but they did not get that sound. So they checked that connector. They found that okay, part of the connector was damaged. But before we shipped out, we checked there should be no such kind of issues.
yeah. Which
Yeah.
I'm not going to accuse anyone. I'm not, yeah, but I've not seen those don't stick out. Those are sunk into the
Yeah.
housing
That
or
is
flush with the housing, so it's not.
yeah.
Those aren't likely to get damaged in shipping unless something else in the case is loose and gets into that port and jams it pretty good. So, yeah, I'm
Okay.
not going to argue with them, but there will be a bill for that one at least.
Okay. But do you think for that if I think probably that we'll need to replace one adapt
Yeah,
uh,
that adapter board will
adapter.
need to be replaced.
Yeah. But do you think that that will be very quick, right? Because we left one demo unit in their office in Chengdu because we also wanted that Gen 5 by 16 analyze the demo unit to be back quick for some other customers' evaluations. So I wanted you have to help me to fix this, damaged connectors and ship back to me very quick. And we then will get it, after Chinese New Year, like, February the 5th
Yep.
and then we ship to customers to do swap the demo
Yeah.
unit.
I believe we should have those parts in stock so that connector should be able to, or we at least have spare boards that we can pull from. And then today, we finally did get an update on the other RMA, so the double RMA that I requested you send back,
Yeah.
with the one from later on in
Only
December for
dying.
Solidigm. Yeah,
Yeah, one for
so
Amazon. Yeah.
the analyzer that I had um in my collection was like the only demo unit that we had left that would fit that license class. So I pulled that one out, was doing some testing on it. We were using it at HP for the last month and a half to do some dual port testing with them.
Okay.
And that one ended up having the same issue, where it was showing like 4.5 to 4.4 volts on the same
Okay.
rail, which I found weird. So I handed that
Okay.
one off to manufacturing and the hardware team to look at. They did some testing and replaced a few wires, and since they've powered it back on, it stayed at 4.9 volts.
Okay.
So, or 4.95 volts. So it's it's within the 5% that we expect it to be.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do some more testing on it tomorrow whenever I'm in the office, make sure it's okay, and then we'll probably box it up and have it shipped and ready either tomorrow or Thursday.
Okay. But we also power cycle that new analyzer for Solidigm, after your remote debug. It seemed that it works fine now, many times. So, but I still wanted to get it back to do some fix, repair, right? Wires.
Yeah, there were some internal connections and wirings that they replaced in the
Oh, okay.
office that seemed to fix it. So
Okay. Good. Let me see. Let me ask if they have any questions.小雨有啥问题吗？这一个问题也可以，也没啥问题啊。那个李阳呢？李阳出去了，你有啥问题吗？那个缺啥问题吗？你呢？
我觉得你好像有个问题忘了，
有个问题忘了。
前几天要开个会
呃，
所以说的。
这个东西，
哦，
嗯，
成都那台好像不杭州那台是比较尴尬的一个，就是质保期的一个。
哦，这把我给你讲一下。A Hunter.
yep.
So my Angel just pointed out to me that for the Hangzhou, the unit from Hangzhou, uh, so that IMA, we checked the warranty. So it should be within the warranty. 12 months plus 1 month something.
That was a unit from 22, was it not?
No? So sorry?
Whenever I checked on our billing, it was a unit from 2022.
2022. 20, yeah, 20, but they have 2 years warranty.
出厂的是这个，
Mm.
但是到时候
Um,
就是你说的。
I could be wrong. Give me one moment.
Yeah, but I remember that we got them 2 years warranty. 李阳啥问题吗？
Transmit this email.
平时的也可以。
没关系，待会你把它找出来，我们再写个邮件给我，那个东西给我发给你。
我写了，我给你了。
It is an NENT. Okay, that's right. It is an enterprise unit. Okay. So yeah, that unit has a 3-year warranty. So
啊，
哦，那就 OK
看见没？
那
不知道，反正反正是should be within warranty 啊。
那 OK，他们当时都买了一点。
其他李阳啥问题吗？李阳？没啥问题是吧？这样的话，我想想还有什么其他的问题吗？那就是Hunter. So for the PCI Gen 6 retimer test, if customer wanted both, one test to be the RC, one test to be the endpoint. So how do they config?
well, you would just use
Because
so
if I only have
yeah, I
one
don't
unit.
so I don't think you can configure
I mean,
I
if
don't
I
think you
have
can
two,
configure them
two,
together, but I'll ask engineering. That's not something I don't think that we've done yet, but it's something that we've talked about. Um, but essentially all you would do is this.
yeah, if I have
So,
two analyzer testers, right? I can set up, the
yep.
first unit to be RC, the second unit to be endpoint, right? Then we put their timer in between the two emulated unit, right?
Um, yeah, if you're putting a switch here on the host system, I would think you should be able to do that. And we've even been talking about doing some testing where our device goes onto our host and we look at, essentially emulating and sending traffic on both sides, but without, I don't know if we'll have a third box running as an analyzer. I'm not sure how they would do that, but yeah.
Oh, so for the PCI Gen 6, that is sideband, the other connector is the MCIO,
Yes, we moved to MCIO.
MCIO by 16 or by 8.
by 8, I think.
Yeah, because I think it is better than the Oculink connectors.
Yeah, I put in enough complaints and showed them the data sheet where the Oculink only has like 25 to 50 plug cycles before it can fail, and they agree that that wasn't sufficient, so they changed over to MCIO, which is more
Oh, okay,
industry
okay.
standard. So
Okay, you go back to that slide. So for the device smart fixtures, right? That one, because there are only three connectors on that fixture, right? What are the other three? Yeah.
what do you mean other
Uh,
three? It's only acting as an
okay.
endpoint,
No,
so that
here
this one doesn't have any. That's what I
yeah.
was saying. I haven't seen the one that has the sci-fi capabilities or the interposer capabilities. So this is
Yeah.
the only rendering of the DSF that I've seen.
Yeah. This is without the interposer inside. Because
Correct. This
this
is just
thought
passive.
it only for the analyzer purpose, right?
This is only for acting as an endpoint.
Yeah, endpoint.
And then you have just a regular, by 16 interposer that we've changed the layout slightly, but it's essentially the same as the Gen 5.
Ah,
I just don't have a finished render of that one yet. I have pinged a few people, but I think they've been on holiday because they're UK people. So
yeah, okay. Because in the price the previous versions of price book, right? I noticed that for this device smart fixtures, it put something like please check seiraltek for the availability of this fixture. But
yes,
now
and it's
information
still
removed,
mine still has
removed,
that. So
removed.
hmm. I'll ask David about that because the one that I have, the last update that I've seen on the price book still has it to where it's to be determined and request from factory before quoting. So
Okay, okay. Let me see. 其他条件。嗯，好。The most prospect customers in the US, many, trying to pursue that RC emulation, right? CPU processor emulation, right?
yeah, most
And
here are.
endpoint, right? But it is different here, those companies who have money. So because they mainly design the CPU processors, they need endpoint.
Okay. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
like I said, I'll do some testing with the DSF and ping a couple of the guys in the UK and see what testing they've done. The
Okay.
only people I've heard back from are the FPGA guys, and they're only been focusing on the RC side of it. So
Okay. Okay. Okay.
yep.
没问题，这样了，今天啊。Okay, Hunter, I think that is all for today's discussion. Thank you very much for your time. And
Yeah, no, thank you.
yeah, yeah. So uh, uh, you will get me, the link for the YouTube videos, right?
Yep, as soon as I
Unboxing.
post it, I'll send that and the user guide over.
Yeah, yeah.
And as soon as I know we've got some updates that a couple of the programmers want to do to the GUI for the DUT screen and the TLP, manual TLP generation. So as soon
Okay.
as we get some of those rolled out and updated, as well as some of the scripting for it, I'll try to have examples for that so that customers get an idea of how they can generate packets and do, essentially do some of the stuff that the tests are doing.
Okay. 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 Thank you, Hunter.
All right, yep, thank you.
Yeah. See you.
Okay, bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.
错误记得上。